June 3, 1945. Bavaria, Germany. The village is quiet, too quiet for a place that still has smoke rising from chimneys. A convoy of Third Army jeeps rolls down a dirt road flanked by pine trees and broken fence posts. Spring mud. Birdsong. The sound of boots hitting gravel. Then, one soldier stops. He doesn't speak, he just looks down. In the courtyard of a sprawling estate, between a stone fountain and a neatly trimmed hedge, a large German shepherd lifts his head from a metal bowl. The soldier crouches, tilts his head, reads the faded stenciling on the side of that bowl. It's not a bowl, it's an M1 helmet. American issue, the kind they bury soldiers in. The dog goes back to eating. Someone put it there, someone chose that, and somewhere behind the convoy, a staff car slows to a stop. General George S. Patton, commander of the Third Army, steps out of that car. He sees what the soldier sees. This is what he did. Subscribe, we tell stories with disrespect meets consequences. The estate belongs to SS Hauptsturm Heinrich Voss, 34 years old, decorated, feared, and, as of 6 days ago, still at this address. Inside, the hall is warm. Crystal glasses on a mahogany sideboard. A Flemish painting, looted though no one here will say so, hangs above a stone fireplace. There is real coffee. There's real bread. There are clean linens. Outside, 3 miles east, there is real bread. There are clean linens. Outside, 3 miles east, there is a transit camp. Barbed wire. Men in rags. American POWs who passed through this area months ago, some of whom never made it to any registered facility. The locals know this. They say nothing. Housekeeper, to a soldier later. The captain liked things orderly. He was very particular. Particular, that's one word for it. Voss ran this sector for 11 months. In that time, he requisitioned the estate from a German Jewish family who had owned it for 4 generations. He redistributed their furniture. He kept their wine. He took their dog, a shepherd named Bruno, and trained him personally. Bruno ate well. Bruno had a bowl. Where Voss found the helmet, no one will say directly. But the transit camp is 3 miles east. And the math is not difficult. A second soldier leans down and grips the rim of the helmet. The dog backs away, growling low. The soldier doesn't flinch. He turns the helmet over slowly. Inside, a name, faded, but legible. Rank, serial number, ex-state year, but legible. Rank, serial number, state of origin, state year. Almost to himself, he's from Ohio. Nobody says anything for a moment. The helmet has been outside for months. The liner is cracked. The rim is rusted where Bruno's water has pooled and dried and pooled again. Someone drilled a hole in the bottom, drainage, so it wouldn't tip. Deliberate. Someone thought this through. They wanted the helmet to work as a bowl. They wanted it to last. They wanted it used. Patton's aide sets a preliminary report on the table. 1 page. The aide doesn't look up when Patton reads it. He reads it twice. Patton, who's still on the property. 4 staff. The housekeeper. A groundskeeper. 2 young women brought in from the village to cook. None of them SS. None of them innocent. The camp is abandoned now. The Germans cleared it fast when the Third Army's advance became undeniable. They left the wire. They left the latrines. They left the mud impressions of hundreds of men who slept on bare ground through a Bavarian winter. An army investigator walks the perimeter with a clipboard. He photographs everything. He stops at a section of fence near the southwest corner. There are blueprints. American blueprints. They stop at the wire and don't continue. He writes something down. Doesn't say it out loud. The helmet is placed in an evidence bag by a corporal. He handles it like it might break. Like it already did once. Corporal, to another soldier. You ever seen one used like that before? Second soldier. No. A pause. The dog is tied to a post near the gate, sitting calmly, tail brushing gravel. The investigator from the camp arrives 15 minutes later. He speaks quietly with Patton's aide, and together they enter the study. The aide places a second sheet on the table. It lists 4 names, American soldiers, last confirmed location, the transit camp, 7 months prior. Current status, unaccounted for. Not dead, not transferred, not exchanged, just gone. A soldier with a flashlight moves through the estate's cellar. Bottles of wine are stacked floor to ceiling on the left wall. On the right, crates of official documents, requisition orders, transfer manifests, personnel records. He finds 3 items that don't belong: a leather-bound journal, a U.S. Army issue wool blanket stamped with a division marker, and a single dog tag, not attached to anything. Just sitting on a wooden shelf like a forgotten coin. Say Tior. Into radio, sir. You need to come down here. Patton descends the stairs. Flashlight sweeps the right wall. He picks up the dog tag. reads it, sets it down with more care than he picks up most things. He doesn't speak for 11 seconds. The blanket is unfolded carefully. It is torn along one edge. There are stains, dark brown, old, deep in the wool, that no one needs to identify aloud. The helmet outside was a symbol. This cellar is evidence. And somewhere, Voss is still breathing. The journal is handed to an interpreter. He opens to the last entry, reads one line, looks up at Patton. Interpreter, he writes about the dog. A pause. Interpreter, reading Bruno enjoys his new bowl. The men here gave it up without much protest. Patton takes the journal from the interpreter's hands, closes it, tucks it under his arm. That journal is going somewhere official, every word of it. Patton stands at the center of the room. 4 estate staff stand against the far wall. The housekeeper, the groundskeeper, the 2 young women. No one is bound. No one is shouting. That's almost worse. Patton doesn't pace, doesn't gesture. He stands completely still and looks at each face for a long moment before speaking. Patton, who drilled the hole in the bottom of that helmet. Silence. The housekeeper's eyes go to the floor. Patton. Same volume, same tone. I'm not going to ask it twice. The groundskeeper, older man, heavy hands, broken capillaries across his nose, shifts his weight. Groundskeeper, in German, to interpreter, the captain gave it to me. To prepare. Patton nods slowly. Just once. Patton, you knew what it was. Not a question. Groundskeeper, quietly, yes. The 2 women against the wall look at each other. One of them starts to cry, not dramatically. Yes, the 2 women against the wall look at each other. One of them starts to cry, not dramatically. Just the quiet kind, eyes filling and spilling over without sound. Patton turns to his aide. Patton, get me the name on that helmet. Full personnel file, next of kin. He walks to the window, looks out at the courtyard. The gravel is still damp in a circle where the water pooled. Patton, not turning around. I want this estate secured. Nothing leaves. No one leaves. He turns back, looks at the housekeeper specifically. Patton, you kept this house for him. You cooked his meals. You knew what happened in that camp. She doesn't deny it. She doesn't nod. She just stands there, which is its own kind of answer. The trial isn't starting. It already started the moment they chose to stay. Patton gives one order. 1. He takes the M1 helmet from the evidence bag, carries it himself. No aide, no soldier, to the center of the courtyard, where the stone fountain sits dry and moss-covered. He sets it on the fountain's edge, rim up, facing the estate's front gate. Then he turns to the 4 staff members assembled outside. Patton, this estate is now a processing point for American personnel. He looks at the groundskeeper. Patton, you will clean every room. You will carry every bag. You will do it until I say otherwise. He looks at the housekeeper. Patton, you will cook for American soldiers, every meal. Every day they are here. No one objects. No one speaks. Then Patton does something no one expects. He takes the helmet off the fountain edge. He walks to the estate's entrance, the wide, heavy front doors that Voss used to receive guests in full uniform, and he hangs it there, on a nail, at eye level, facing outward, so that every American soldier who enters will see it first, so that no one who passes through those doors forgets what this place was, what it had, what it chose to do with an American soldier's last piece of equipment. Patton, to his aide, walking away, find the soldier's family. That helmet goes home when we're done. The estate that humiliated a dead soldier now serves his living brothers. That's not revenge, that's correction. By mid-afternoon, the estate looks different, not cleaner. It was already clean, which was its own obscenity. Different in the way a room feels different when the wrong person has been removed from it. American soldiers move through the halls. Some sit at the mahogany table where Voss used to eat. They eat rations. They don't comment on the painting above the fireplace, but one of them, a kid from Tennessee, barely 20, stares at it for a long time. Soldier from Tennessee to no one. Wonder who it belonged to. Older soldier not looking up from his coffee. Everyone around here is wondering that. The helmet hangs on the nail above the door. Soldiers pass beneath it coming and going. Some don't notice. Some slow down. One, a sergeant, combat-worn helmet of his own strapped to his pack, reaches up and touches the rim with 2 fingers. Doesn't say anything. Moves on. The groundskeeper carries a trunk of blankets across the courtyard. He sets it down once to catch his breath. Looks at the fountain. Looks at the nail on the door. Picks the trunk back up. Patton's aide reads from a freshly typed report. Heinrich Voss was located by a British unit 40 kilometers west, attempting to cross into Switzerland with civilian papers. He was taken into custody without resistance. He is being transported to an Allied processing center to face charges under the laws of war. The journal, the dog tag, the blanket, the testimony of the 4 staff members, all documented, photographed, cataloged. Voss will spend the next 3 years in legal proceedings before a military tribunal. The journal is entered as evidence on the second day of hearings. The interpreter reads the passage about Bruno's bowl to the courtroom. The room goes silent. Ohio, 6 months later. A package arrives at a farmhouse. No return name. U.S. Army postmark. Inside, the M1 helmet cleaned, the rust removed, the hole in the bottom sealed with a small metal patch. A typed letter is folded around it, explaining where it was found, what condition it was in, and what was done with it in the weeks that followed. The family doesn't read the letter all the way through on the first try. They put it down. They pick it up again later. They read it again, and again after that. They frame the helmet on the wall of a front room where it stays for decades. Anyone who asks is told the whole story, how it was found, and by whom, and what he did the moment he saw it. The family never forgets that someone chose to be angry on their behalf, someone who didn't have to be. That's what they remember most. This wasn't just a helmet. It was the last object that stood between a soldier and anonymity, the last piece of him that anyone in that place acknowledged existed. And someone looked at it, looked at the name, the rank, the serial number, and decided it was worth less than a dog's dinner. That decision said something about how they saw American soldiers, how they saw human life, how they saw themselves. Patton didn't make a speech. He didn't call a press conference. He just moved it from the ground to a nail above a door and told the people who had served that house to serve a different house now. Simple. Irreversible. Correct. There is a kind of anger that doesn't burn wild. It just gets very, very still. It looks at what happened. It decides what comes next, and it doesn't stop until the account is settled. Patton had that kind of anger. Most of the time, that's the kind that actually changes something. There's a question worth sitting with. If you had walked past that courtyard before anyone important arrived and seen that bowl and known what it was, what would you have done? Would you have moved it? Would you have said something? Would you have looked away and kept walking, telling yourself it wasn't your fight? Tell us in the comments. We read them. We think about them. And if stories like this one matter to you, subscribe. We'll keep telling the ones that don't let you look away.